Hey, all you cool cats and kittens out there. We're going to go ahead and work on day 2 of the container challenge. So very quickly here, yesterday you should have done sort of the basics of it. I should have a little text on it, should look appropriate, either raised or recessed. But now we need to do one more thing today. We need to make either the inside of the cylinder instead of a box. We could design a lid that could be placed at the top, or add some shapes to create texture on the outside of the container. So that's what we have options to do today. So I'm going to go ahead into my TinkerCAD. Here it is. If I wanted to probably change to a cylinder, I could probably ungroup it. I can move the rectangle part out. Instead, we can use a cylinder. Again, this is where it gets a little more interesting, because if I go to this, remember I want that part to be about 95. And if it is a 40 by 40 box inside, there's a good chance that 40, so that would be 5. I'm just thinking of what maybe the diameter could or should be as I'm working on this. But I guess the first thing we're going to do is pop this up to 95. Remember, this is the optional part of it. We're going to hit the Shift key, and we can see what 45, diameter of 45 looks like. Actually, let's make it a diameter of 50. And if we move the 50 in here, we would notice that it takes just about the whole thing. So we're going to cut the diameter down a little bit. Let's cut it down to 45, like I said. It doesn't matter that it's ginormous. If I wanted to shrink this down, I simply could. But I think the first thing we need to do is align. So I'm going to group everything. I'm going to hit the L tool, or I'm going to go up to the Align tool, click the button. We're going to click on the green to make sure that that is what we are centering it to. And we're going to go to the bottom, center, center. And then the problem here is I think I have this all the way on the ground. So for right now, I guess I'm going to click off of it. I've got it centered. Maybe I should shrink this down and make it 95. There's so many different ways to do this. But there we go. There's 95. I realize that it's sort of stuck in here. So I'm going to just move it out away. I'm actually making a lot more work here for myself, which isn't very good. I guess I could bring this down to 95 this way. And then we could raise it up so it just hits the surface here, because ideally the bottom should have a, what do you call it? It should have a bottom to it. It shouldn't be an open bottom. We're going to hit Control G, or the group tool again. And there we go. We did make it a cylinder instead. If you wanted to make a top for this, well, I could tell you that this cylinder was 45. So to probably make a top on it, maybe we could have a little box. We remember that this box is 50 by 50. This is just, again, all for fun, or it's one of the choices. So there's 50 by 50. This right here is 100. 20 might be appropriate for a top. I have no problem with that. But I wanted to be able to sort of be on top, lock in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, drag a cylinder out here. And I'm going to change it to be 40 instead of 45 like I did last time. We're going to go 44. So it's a smidge smaller, which means it will stay on. And we're going to go ahead and make it a little bit higher. Let's see here. If the height is 20 for this red piece, let's make this 25. Here we go. Let's go ahead, take these two, and let's align. So we'll hit the Align tool, or L. We're going to align to the red. So I'm going to click on the red. I'm going to hit middle, middle, and the bottom is fine. So there we go. That looks like a pretty good top. I can grab it, and I can go ahead and group it. So now there you go. It also satisfies the two different colors. And here's a top that we could literally, if we wanted to, place on top. You're not going to show that, but at least it's your attempt to go ahead and do this. You would use on shape, and you can actually maybe add some motion to have it move up and down. I'm not sure how to do animation in TinkerCAD. Finally, one other choice to do something would be to add shapes. So if we go to shapes, like here's a star, we could always add some stars to this. I would suggest changing the work plane. I'm going to get rid of this other star that I have. I'm going to bring this star out again. I'm going to make it much smaller. I don't want it really annoyingly far out from the green, so we're going to shrink it so it barely, we're going to make it a height of 1. So it's right there on there. I can always make it a little smaller if I wanted to. I can keep that size. And then we can go up here and use the Control D or duplicate. And we can kind of move them wherever we'd like them. I hit Control D again, kind of moves it. I can use my arrows. I can make sort of a random pattern. I can then also pretty easily shrink it. And I guess I shouldn't have done that. I probably should duplicate it again, move it around. I'm going to put it right here, but I'm going to shrink it, shrinky dink. And now I'm going to hit Control D. Oh, look at that. It keeps changing the size of them. So I guess I better be careful because the next one that I have, look how tiny it is. I could go ahead, instead of Control D, I can Control C. Oh, and then Control V to copy. Control C, and then Control V. I can go ahead and then hit delete. I can copy this one, Control C, Control V, move it around. So I'm just making this sort of little pattern on here, adding a little texture. And then when I'm done, I can go ahead, click on work plane, click anywhere off it, and there we go. I built some texture to it. So those are really the 3 choices. Oh, we got this one. It's a booger hanging there. So we'll just click and delete it. Now it's time to go ahead and submit our project. So we're going to go ahead and set up a multi-view. Obviously, you could type in the bottom stuff here. So I'm going to go name Joe Fly. Our title is Container Challenge. Today's date just happens to be 3/10 or Mario Day. And we are 6E and then whatever, are you 1, 2, or 3? Isometric, we'll go to TinkerCAD here. And we'll turn it so we get the front and right view. And that's a pretty good multi-view right there. Do your best. You can do your Control-Shift key above the 6 to take a partial screenshot. For me, I'm using a laptop, so it's a little bit different. But I capture what I want. I go ahead to my file. I'm going to go ahead, paste it. I got to grab from a corner, shrink it down, and add it right there. Now, let's go ahead and get the other views. I'm going to hit the top to get the top view. Again, I probably want this centered a little bit. So maybe I got to tilt it a little bit. Otherwise, I'd have to move the objects to the center. We're going to go ahead and take another screenshot. So it would be Control key above the 6. But in this particular case, I have it right here. I'm now going to go to my file. And I'm going to put the top view where it belongs, which is right there. We're going to go ahead and grab the front now. So I'll click on front view. There we go. Again, use our front view. Paste it, reshape it. And then we got our side view. So we'll go ahead and ideally, since I have 2 pieces here, we would go with 2 different drawings, one for the top, one for the bottom, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead, click on the right side, click right. Booyah. There it is. Have it the way we want it to look. And then one more Control-Shift key above the 6 for you. And there you go. We'll go back to our area, and we'll go ahead, paste it, put it in there, and booyah. There is our submission to go ahead and turn in. Pretty easy. So let's get her done. All right. That was easy.